There's a lot of VO podcasts out there, sharing a lot of insight and knowledge. But on Another VO podcast, you get to hear from three guys who are accountability partners and who all have a different story of how their VO careers came together. Do they have all the answers? Probably not. But between the three of them, they've made all the mistakes you don't want to make. And hey, they're really nice guys. Well, pretty much. Here's Jake, Alden, and Troy with another VO podcast.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another VO podcast. My name is Charles Coates, aka Charles the Voice, and I am honored and lucky to be here with Troy Holden, Jake Sanders, and Alden Schoenberg. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, what up?
What's up?
Good to have you.
Yeah.
Evan Charles
it is good to have you. And real quick, before we get into anything, I just want to say congrats on your recent job that you just posted. I know this is probably going to be airing a couple weeks after, but if you're in any of the Facebook groups, Charles was the voice of a trailer for the Velveteen Rabbit premiering on Apple Plus on November 22nd. How cool is that, dude?
That is so
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
What would so can you tell us how and where did you book that job?
They actually found me from a website.
Like your website?
Yeah, from my website. www.charlesthevoice.com.
So they were just surfing the net, saw your website, listened to your voice, listened to some samples, and then hit you up and were like, yo, we want to use you for this.
That's pretty much how it happened.
Didn't even have to audition, really.
Didn't even have to. Well, no, I didn't have to audition. She hired me directly.
That's
And
amazing.
here's the
have more
odd
questions.
part. Here's the odd part. They wanted a British accent.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
And I don't have any samples with a British accent. So I don't know. Now that I think about it even more, it's even more weird.
I know, because I watched it and I'm like, he's using a British accent, which wasn't bad. It was just enough, to fit with the whole flavor of the promo.
Are you guys seeing that more and more in some of these audition postings that they want? They're still calling it a Mid-Atlantic, but what they're saying is we don't want to know. We don't want to be able to tell where you're from. If you're from America or Britain, or we don't want to be able to tell. How can you not tell if someone's British?
It's tough.
Australian.
There was one today that was like they want a European accent, but it's nondescript or something like that. Can't really tell where it's from. And the only time I've ever heard an example of that was JMC. JMC did an example of one, and it's kind of like this slash between Mid-Atlantic and...
It sounds like Paul Strickwerda to me.
Maybe.
Kinda.
But it's like there was one today that was for a lot of money, and I was like, I'm not even going to go for it because it's not even going to be anything that they're looking for sure.
I always feel like that when I read the Mid-Atlantic, it makes me think of Cary Grant and how he talks so proper.
Yeah, that's true.
It freaks me out.
But still,
I'm
that's
intimidated
cool.
by that.
That's really cool how that happened, man, that they literally found you on your website. And that, for anyone listening, I mean, like, make getting a website in your priority list, because it's a place for you to post your samples, your demos, recent works, any kind of like awards if you have those, anything like that. Just because you never know who's going to come across your website and be like, you know what, I want to hit them up. And most importantly, make it stupid easy for people to contact you. Stupid easy. Whether that means you have your email posted on every page, whether you have an actual contact form for people to fill out, make sure they can get a hold of you for that exact reason.
Yep.
Nice. You know what? Yep. Now that you had mentioned that, I know where they could have heard a lot of British accent from me, because I have all my links to my socials on my website.
There you
and
go.
They didn't
you have that
necessarily
live stream
say,
to when you talk in a British accent when you take your shower every day.
That's right. You can catch Charles live streaming from the shower.
Don't worry, shoulders and up.
Yeah. But I have links to all my socials and like SoundCloud, TikTok, this and that and the other thing. And they might not have said, hey, I went to your website, found you on your website, went to this and clicked on this. It's just found you on your website. So that's probably because there's no.
Did you ask them any more than that, or was that enough for you?
No, once they told me the price, I was like, what do you want me to do? Like, I'll do it now. And they already sent the check, which is nuts.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting 2 invoices from early October that haven't been paid yet. So,
well, my daughter called me yesterday and she said, "Hey, I'm pretty sure I heard you on 104.5 in Nashville. It was a Pfizer commercial for Zyndimax." I said, "Yeah, that's me. I have not been paid the session fee yet, and that was a SAG-AFTRA job done over 90 days ago."
You haven't been paid anything yet.
They got some late fees coming to you.
So, yeah, they said I'd get a late fee with it. They told me, and it's on the way, but I have no idea what the usage is going to pay on it. But it's just, it's funny how a lot of that, they get in a hurry, they get it done, they get it out, and then, oh, crap, we haven't paid it yet.
The guy that did that
we're
work
last
for it. Yeah,
we're always last. We're last in the production phase. We're last in the payment phase. They're not worried about us.
And we're last in the know. It's like, like you do the job or you audition or whatever, and it takes forever for you to find out anything.
Yeah.
And that's the downside. You are
That's like chasing
so
down stuff that you've done, trying to get it because it was a really good spot, and I've got 2 that I cannot get my hands on. I have tried and tried and tried, and I can't get a response. I can't get anything. I had a spot air during the Dove Awards. I didn't watch the Dove Awards. I wasn't home. I couldn't watch it. I guess I can watch a replay if it has commercials, but I can't get it. And then a lot of people sent me the John Snyder thing I did, and that was great. It was great to get that. But I did Toby Keith's I Love This Bar out in Oklahoma, and I can't get a copy of that.
His bar up at the casino?
Yeah, I'd love to have a copy of that because it's such a fit for what I do, and it would be great in my portfolio to put on my website.
Have you tried looking it up, like on YouTube or nothing?
I've looked everywhere.
YouTube, iSpot.tv.
Yeah,
I mean,
everywhere.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
looked
find
stuff up, and it's
because I have a couple of those. Like I have that Evan Williams Apple spot that they did with Major League Baseball.
Yep.
And like I can't get it for the life of me. And I can't get a Jiffy Lube spot that was a commercial. I can't find it. But
yeah,
I mean, it's already out there. But then
just go to your nearest Jiffy Lube and demand that they call home office.
Well, if you can't get the production company or whoever did it to get it to you or get you a link or something, it seems like it's impossible. And speaking of all that, it's a great segue into what some of the stuff we're going to talk about today is some of the deals about being in this business, being in VO business, and how, all these quandaries you can get into and all these questions, all these different things that can happen. There's so many. This is not like running a Jiffy Lube. Speaking of Jiffy Lube, and it's not like running a restaurant or anything. This can be so variable because everybody does things a different way. So there's so many things going on. I mean, crazy out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think that, everybody's doing stuff different ways, and, there's there's so many different CRMs, and there's people like, I want to do this manually. And someone like, you have to use a CRM. Someone's like, I like typing out all my emails. Somebody's like, I do everything automatically. Some people are like, go to this coach, go to that coach. Well, I have 5 coaches. Well, I only do 1 coach. And it's crazy how many different, recipes there are for success.
Sure. And they all can work.
Yeah. And they all make great meals, but it's just some ways work for these people and some ways work for those people.
Yeah. It's what works for each individual. For sure. Yeah. Like, you were talking about CRMs and whatever, but one of the things that I look at is invoicing. And I don't know how you guys deal with your stuff mainstream, but I think I've got about 5 different avenues I have to monitor for invoicing. I've got Waves, I've got PayPal, I've got some people who just send you a payment and you don't know how it's coming. Some want ACH. I've got, what's that one? Bill.com. I've got that one. And I think there's one more that I've got.
There's a couple more.
Yeah. And I know I have to use Venmo, PayPal, Zelle. It's something all the time. How do you keep up with who, and asking Charles, how do you keep up with having all these different streams coming and where they're coming from? Do you keep a list of somewhere like an open ledger of what's owed and you don't mark it off till they pay and how they pay, or what do you do?
So actually, what's helped me was Brad Highland. He has kind of his spreadsheet that he shared with me on just tracking his clients and kind of what they owed, what was done, how they're going to pay, this and that. And I use that structure, and it works for me. I always have it open. I'm always constantly saving it just in case I don't something happens and then like I didn't save it for the last 4 and I got to go back. But like I put on there like the client's name, what their position is. Basically, I use a spreadsheet. I don't use the CRM. I don't use a CRM to do that. But I put notes in the end and I color code stuff. If it's red, that means it hasn't been paid. It even puts it in there like how much was owed. And if it went through a platform like PayPal or something like that, I have a cell that has a formula in the column that pulls out what the total is that I was paid and what the original amount was supposed to be. So because all those are platform fees that I can take off on taxes.
Right.
That I'm getting charged to, use their service.
So on that real quick, like, couldn't you just like subtract that already and then just, input as far as taxes go, the actual amount? Like, is there any benefit to doing it that way or the other way?
Yeah.
I probably could just calculate it and put that number in there, but I just like having a column that has, let's say it was $100 and the PayPal fee was $9 or $6.27, right? If it says $100, what was the project, and then PayPal will send me, whenever they pay, PayPal will say you received $93.27 or whatever, and then once I put that $93.27 in there, it puts what the difference was, that was the processing fee, and then I just have a whole column and I could just highlight that column. It gives me the total. And I could do it per month or per year or per quarter, something like that. Because I think if I calculated it myself, I'd probably make a mistake.
But what you're saying, Jake, is right, because you're saying I only take what I got net paid.
Yeah.
And I track mine that way. And then at the end of the year, PayPal will send you a thing at the end of the year saying there was this much that they paid out, and then there was also this much in fees.
So they will give you that?
Yeah, they'll give you that.
I know you can go look it up if you want, but they'll send that to you?
Okay.
Yeah. And I just try to make sure that what I put in is net matched up with what they said was net. And it usually does. Or it's so close at my account, it says, don't worry about it. It's close enough.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, to add to that, because I know you asked Charles, but as far as like keeping track of stuff, I mean, like if it's not coming through an agency or like a pay to play, which mostly the pay to play voices.com, they'll pay you through their SurePay way. And I've not had to worry about being paid through the platform on 123, but pretty much everyone I've worked with outside of those parameters, I've always just sent them my PayPal invoice. Now, whether they want to pay me through PayPal, like I have had Bill.com, I have had through ACH or whatever. But what the thing is even if you send an invoice through PayPal, they can pay separately, again, through those methods. And then you can go back in there and mark them paid and make a note for yourself. Like, how did they pay? When did they pay? Yep. So that's what I've been doing. And it's been pretty simple. And I have Brad's spreadsheet too. I just have not used it. And I'm not saying, and a lot of it's because I'm scared to use Excel. I never, outside of BCIS is what we called it in Texas. I've never really like messed with Excel a whole lot. And I don't want to jack that up. I may try it next year, but right now, I mean, just using the PayPal system and being able to make the notes that I can make,
and that's what's great about Waves. Waves, similar to PayPal, it's going to charge you a small fee, but they take MasterCard, Visa, ACH, whatever. And then if you get a manual check in the mail, then you can just go in and manually put in there. Well, it's actually, you pull up a box saying it was paid and you check, was it by check? What account did you put it in? Whatever.
Yeah.
I think Waves is fantastic because it's free and it does a great job, has customized invoices with your logo on it. I mean, you can't beat it. And I do have a handful of people that want a PayPal invoice because they pay on PayPal.
Right.
I don't
And that's
think
fine if they do.
Yeah, and I don't guess I've had anybody take a PayPal invoice and pay some other way, but as Jake said, I know you could do that. But usually, like if even, the Voice 123, people on there that we're billing direct, I use Wave, and it works pretty well.
I will say, if they do pay another way, it's up to you to mark everything correctly.
Yeah, and that is the thing. I think whatever you do, the more automated it is, probably the better. Like mine is super manual, right?
Yeah.
Just because I want to make sure that I'm looking and putting stuff into the spreadsheet. But like I use FreshBooks for all my billing. And
that's what I use.
And I have in my notes section, whenever I send an invoice out, it says, these are the ways you can pay me. You can pay ACH, you can pay you can click on the link and pay with a credit card. And there's a fee with that. Or you could pay this way, PayPal. This is my PayPal ID. This is my Venmo, whatever. And then I also put on there, because this is the part that gets me, is I put on there in the notes, I say, payment is due upon receipt. If you're net 30 or payment will not be paid upon receipt, please shoot me a quick email to let me know when payment will be made. Just so that I know, so that that line in my spreadsheet that's been red for 2 months now, it's like, well, I don't know what's happening. Like I don't want to keep sending emails being like, hey, it's been like 2 weeks. Hey, it's been a month. Hey, it's been 2 months. It's like, if I know and they tell me, and a lot of people will shoot me an email and they'll say, hey, we'll get this over and we'll send it over by next Tuesday or by next week. And maybe that's on my, something on my fault of not getting those clear payment guidelines and discussed before the job starts. But man, that's tough sometimes. You know?
Yeah, it's always awkward, like bringing up payment. And I mean, I feel the same way. Like I'm definitely someone like, I just haven't had the gall yet to be like, yo, so is payment going to be paid on receipt? What I typically do on my receipts, like on my invoices, I give them 30 days right now. But sometimes it's like, that's a long time, And I've got one that's outstanding right now that was due on the 12th based on when my thing was due, when my invoice was due. It was due on October 12th, and I reached out a week after. I said, hey, we're a week late. And she's like, it's like, I didn't realize we were a week late. And plus, we just like finalized the thing on the 16th. And I'm like, well, we didn't discuss that. And she's like, well, I've given your invoice to the accounting people, and they'll pay it. And they haven't paid it yet. And I'm coming up on almost, 2 months that I've sent the thing. And so I'm about to have to reach out and be like, yo.
They pay when they get paid. That's a lot of them. Yeah. I've run into that a few times and some of them will tell you that up front. And here's a good example, because poor Alden, he's helping me with an insurance project. and I told him, I said, they pay good. They pay quickly. Usually, after I bill them, I turn everything in, they approve it, and I bill them. Usually within 2 weeks they pay, so I said, I asked him up front, is it okay that I pay you when they pay me? I could pay him before then, it wouldn't break me. But the thing is, everybody thinks about cash flow and this and that. And, why would I do that? Because, I got to pay him. I got to pay the guy that's doing the Spanish VO. I've got a couple other things going on with this project. And, it's just that. So, and I've been told by, I think agents are the slowest, because the stuff lingers on for a while, because they have us come in and we record, on the first of the month. And then it's going to the production house, and they get it done, and they get approval, and they get this and this and this, and they finally get it out at the end of the month. And then it's 30 days from there. So it's usually 60 days on your agents and stuff. And, people that aren't used to that, they get their first agent job, you get antsy. But what do you not want to do? You don't want to be calling up your contact at the agency saying, hey, man, what's going on with this? I ain't got paid. It's been a couple weeks, Well, it's probably going to be 6 or 8 weeks.
Man, it's been like 4 days.
The more hands it has to go through.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely certain
money it's going to take.
We're used to that rapid return thing, we're living in an instant society. And there are some of us who, when we started, we were on platforms where you completed a job and you got paid for it in 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's part of it.
Sure. That is what we were just talking about, that kind of gives me a good segue of why you should not slack on auditions, marketing, whatever you're doing. And because when you never know, you might be like, bam, I got this $5,000 job. Well, in your mind, you're like, dude, I got this like big nest egg. Like, bam, I get like, it's almost like a little bonus that's going to float me through the month. Well, the thing is, honestly, you're probably not going to get it for 2 months. Who knows? It might be 3 months. Who knows? It might be a month. And it's kind of like that, I don't know, that safety feeling. Like when the pandemic was happening, like everybody was buying toilet paper. Like for what? I don't know, but I have a whole room full of it and I just feel safe. Like I can breathe, And the thing is, you get a job, or you have a couple jobs that it's going to come out to, a good amount of money, and you get this secure safety feeling for a second. And I've found myself maybe not auditioning as much as I normally do, or not really, scrambling and grinding as hard as I usually do. And the thing is, what's the saying? It's like in voiceover, you do the job now, but you get paid the next month, or, there's some saying like that. And that's the thing. I think that's like the short version of that. And it's also the long version is you might be rocking and rolling right now, but in the next 2 months, it might not be the rocking and rolling that you were doing. So you got to keep that tenacity up in the business, because it's your business. Right. And that's why it's sometimes it's, you want to relax, but you can't become lackadaisical, right? You can't just be like, oh, well, I got that big thing coming. Well, who knows what will happen to that?
It's about momentum, right? It's about momentum. And just because you've accomplished one job or maybe hit one big one that you want to hit, don't stop the momentum. Mm-hmm. Because that'll end your career, right? That'll end next month. You don't want to sacrifice next month because you had one good month. So, you got to keep the momentum going. And it's not just the auditions. I will add, it's all the marketing as well. Audition is a form of marketing. But you want to keep sending those emails, keep making those phone calls, keep finding new leads, and keep pursuing that, because that is the job.
Yeah, you're always replacing
we are the product.
The
job is selling the product.
And you're always replacing somebody that's going to leave.
Oh, yeah.
You always got to be prepared to replace them. What I fall into, what I have to watch is, having a farm, and especially during the summer or the spring and the fall, there are certain things you have to do every year. You're trying to get hay in, you're trying to do this, trying to do that. And you think, well, I had that job last week. I'll be okay for a couple of days. If I miss a couple of days, it's okay. So you're out here putting up fence, or you're out here doing something else, or like, honey, let's hook up a horse trailer and go ride for a couple of days. I have to watch that. That is my biggest temptation. It's not really slowing down on the business stuff. It's just saying, I'm getting out of here for a couple of days. And sometimes you do need to get out for a day or so. I find that a lot of times if I'll knock off either for the morning or for the afternoon, one or the other, but I have to come back and go twice as hard on that other half of the day.
Yeah.
And if I'll dedicate myself to that, then I don't come back feeling guilty, because if I come back feeling guilty that I took the time off, I'll actually work less. I'll actually procrastinate and go off in a rabbit hole on YouTube or something and not really do a lot of work. And then I'll say, well, I'm not worried about it. I booked so-and-so last week, and it'll be coming in next month. And, it is an easy trap to fall into, and now I'm not going to say some people can't do that, because they may be booking the types of jobs that would carry you a lot longer, and they may have the repetitive thing of where they have certain clients, they are booking enough of that. They don't have to worry about it as much. But if you're in the middle class like we are, you got to hustle all the time. I mean, there's no slowdowns ever.
Yeah. And I think that if you think about it, let's say you're chugging along, right? You're getting work, you're doing what your coaches tell you to do on your auditions, and and you're using those techniques, and you're doing all this stuff, and things great. And then let's say you lax off a little bit, and then now you're thinking, oh shoot, like I didn't make so much this month, or I'm not going to make as much this month. So now I'm just going to pound the auditions, or I'm going to pound that marketing. But I think I mean, we're always in our head, right? We're always in our head. And if you have the pressure of, I messed around and I, dinked around and I didn't get new jobs coming in. So now I'm going to double down, triple down and do these auditions.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Yeah.
That's sitting in your brain and you're probably not going to do as well of using the techniques that you did, thinking about what you're supposed to do instead of like, I need to blast out these auditions so I can pick up some more momentum again. Right. And now you're not putting out the quality in your voice and your acting that you would be. And guess what? Now you've done all these auditions and maybe you didn't get.
They're terrible.
Yeah, you didn't get jobs for them.
2 weeks ago, Jen Henry said the exact same thing. That they will hear the desperation in your voice.
Yep.
It's very true. They will.
Desperation does not sell.
Whatever you're going through will come out in that audition. Yeah. I've noticed that if there's something has happened and I got to come in here and do that, it's better for me to walk away and get my head cleared up and get more focused on what I'm going to do and just say, all right, all that happened. I got to clear that out. I got to come in here and be me. I got to relax. I got to be me, and try to back your way out and come back in. And it's hard to do sometimes. It's hard to drop all of that out of your head. But if you don't, it's either desperation comes through or you're, maybe something happened you're mad about and some of that little anger or whatever can come through. There's no way I could have recorded anything Monday morning because I was so mad at that car dealership because I knew they had done something to the financing on my car.
Right.
And I was correct. When I got there, they had slipped in a $3,000 extended warranty and did not explain to me it was in there. And I knew something was wrong. And when I got there and they showed, we put that in there. We talked about it. No, we did not. And there's no way on Monday I could have auditioned for anything that morning until I resolved that and came home and I was relieved because that frustration would have been in my read, I'm sure.
Well, maybe you can turn a negative into a positive, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering maybe now that you're saying all this, maybe that's why I won the tired Santa job last week. Because I was really tired. Acting was easier. So maybe Troy, maybe you needed an anger. You needed to find the anger reads and
where
tap into that salesman who sold you the warranty.
That 27-second car ad that was 15 seconds. That would have been great for that.
Or the Tasmanian devil, apparently.
But it was called Friendly Ford. So
I
couldn't be friendly and angry.
Well, as we try to keep up our momentum, what do you guys usually do in late into the year? November, December, we're coming up on holidays. We've all done this for a few years now. So what is your trend? Last year I had a pretty good November and December, but I think it was because I held momentum. It wasn't necessarily seasonal stuff that I was picking up.
Yeah, about this time I start to panic. No, I mean, it's just, I noticed that last year, especially as far as marketing goes, I mean, come like December 15th, you pretty much should have your marketing turned off for the rest of the year. I mean, auditions are still going to come in and maybe you might book something from my experience. Again, I think my first year in voiceover, and I'm counting while I was working at my other job at the time, I mean, like, I had a good end of the year. I had a great November because it was an election season. So I really had a great October. Because I was doing a bunch of random stuff for, election stuff and encouraging people to vote. But I mean, the last couple of years, I mean, it just slows down. I mean, there is a lot more, like some commercial stuff picks up because people are getting ready for the holiday stuff and they're getting ready for like the beginning of the year stuff and whatnot. But I mean, commercial stuff's like the most competitive stuff out there. So auditions are good, but bookings are better if you can get them.
Like bookings.
But other than that, I mean, like I might look at my marketing and see if there's anything I want to try to target as far as like, hey, it's a new year. Let's get together and make magic. I don't know, something like that. But you really don't have to, depending on how you market. But yeah.
I agree on the marketing. You're definitely going to turn the switch off. Middle of December. And same for me. Last year, December was my biggest month. And then.
Was it Christmas related?
I don't remember. I would have to look back at my ledger and see, But I know one of the things that spurned it was the fact that I was doing a restaurant chain that was doing a lot of promotions in November and December, because they were doing, in October, they were ordering and finishing up, or in November, early November, they were doing the Thanksgiving stuff. And then before Thanksgiving, they were doing the Christmas stuff. And then at the early December, they went ahead and did the New Year stuff. And they could have paid for all of it before the year end, like paid for all three in December. That could have been why, but it was a really good month. But I'm with you on the marketing. I think, somewhere around the middle of the month, cut it off. Nobody's paying attention to that.
Yeah.
Too much else going on. I hear a lot of people that have been doing this even longer say this last quarter is usually their busiest 3 months because of the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
But there's got to be, it's got to come to a stop somewhere. And you'd think middle of December, because the holiday ads should be kind of done. But on the other hand, if you're heavy in commercial, they're going to be doing a lot of stuff of after Christmas sales,
New Year's
so
sales,
it's going to continue if you're doing a lot of that.
I had a Black Friday job come in today, so I mean, we're in that season.
It's time for sure.
Yep.
For sure. And then if you've got companies that, some companies' fiscal year ends in weird months, some
that's true,
June, some weird months, but some do go by the calendar year, and they may be having employees are renewing health insurance. So if you're in that type of stuff and they're going over new benefits and new enrollments and things, and there's, e-learning and corporate narration for a lot of that, I'm sure there's a ton of that goes on at the end of the year as well.
Yeah. And political's huge.
Yes.
It's ramping up. I did a lot of political ads last month. And I've done one already this month, and I'm actually creating a political demo with JMC this month also.
Yep.
And
that's good on you, because it will. It's time, and we really got to market those things early next year, because I'm sure by spring and summer it's going to be wide open.
Oh, it's going to be in full swing.
Yeah. It's going to be big.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting to see what'll happen.
Yeah,
as we get into the end of the year.
So, I guess kind of tying in like the stresses of the end of the year, or the stresses of the ups and downs of the finances in our business. Like, what do you guys do to kind of keep up with your mental health, or like the health of your business, and even your physical health?
Man, I started going to the gym again back in August. And yeah, I just, that's definitely something for my physical health, but honestly, like working out and stuff like that is good for your mental health too. So I also get out and play disc golf. I go out and touch grass, as the kids say. So, that's good to do. And that it's just getting out of the booth, getting out of your office, getting out of whatever, like is imperative to make sure that your mental health is taken care of, and whatever that looks like for you. I mean, take a walk, go get out and involved in extracurricular activities.
Mm-hmm.
But also just having the support of my girlfriend, you know what I mean? Like she definitely brings me some, mental relief too, because it's good to have a support system. It doesn't necessarily have to be a significant other. It could be your friend group, could be other members of your family and whatnot. But I know, at least for me anyway, like having her support is definitely encouraging, and it's definitely helped me a lot when I've been down. I have been down, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be tough. You've got to have that mental health team, like Jake's talking about. My wife is excellent about that. And really, oddly, her whole family, other than one person, they're very supportive of this type of thing. They really are always asking, what have you done lately? Tell me some of the stuff. They're fascinated by it because this is something they've never been around.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it fascinates them. So it makes me feel better being able to talk about it in a positive way to people that don't know much about it. It makes me feel like, yeah, this is important, what I do. It is, and I know it's rewarding, but sometimes you think, well, it's not like a real job. I used to do this, and now I just do this. I don't even have a lot of responsibilities anymore, but it's better. Physically, I have been terrible this year, but I have gotten better here at the end of the year, and I'll continue to do better with that. And then the business wise, I think it's just all in trying to make sure you spend, whether it's an hour a day or 30 minutes or 2 hours a week, or whatever you do, promoting and pushing yourself and your business, whether it's on social media, whether it's email, or whether it's, local or whatever. Mm-hmm. One of the things that helps me is doing this local podcast. I get hardly any return out of it, but there is a business health thing that it makes me look like a local business. People see me as a business here locally. Mm-hmm. I've got I have booked clients off of it that I do radio spots for. I have been asked to come do public things and, at people's dinners and things where I would speak or introduce people and things. And I never charge for that, but it helps promote as a business. And I thought, if I were in a town like Atlanta or a larger town, it would have more of an impact. But there's nothing wrong with it having an impact on a small town.
Right.
So,
sure.
You can nurture your business like that and keep your business going. And then I think the other thing is you've got to look at where you're at with all these platforms. Are you wasting your time? Are you doing this? Mm-hmm. Are you doing that? And the same thing with Facebook groups. I think I dropped out of 10 or 12 Facebook groups lately because I have passed where they are. I don't need to be hanging in a ton of groups that have people trying to get into VO because I want to help them. I've got a bad habit. I want to answer. I want to help them, but I can't. It's too much. And so you have to draw lines there on your business health because that will also affect your mental health.
Yep.
So it's a tough game to play.
It will 100%. And then especially if you get trapped in some drama or you get, now you're a part of this snowball of this thing happening, and then it eats up your day. Like you said, it affects your mental, where you are in the day, and that ultimately affects your work.
You almost have to pick, and I don't know a good way to say this. You almost have to pick a team that you're going to stick with in VO. And there's a lot of teams out there. Mm-hmm. There's, this one, that one, this one, that one. And there are quote unquote leaders of those teams, whether they know they're their leader or not. Mm-hmm. And some of these are unknown people and some are known people. And you have to kind of pick which teams that you're affiliated with and what you're doing, because if you're not careful, your business health will commit suicide because you'll be associated with some things you don't need to be associated with. Mm. So be very careful with that.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
That's just being smart with your business. It doesn't matter if it's VO or not. You know what I mean? You don't want to associate yourself with other things that end up being a detriment to your business anyway.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Right. I'm in the vein that I have to not think about the business for my mental health. I got to take a complete break. And, I do go out and play disc golf. I try to maintain healthy friendships and try to participate in my church and take care of my spiritual side. And that all of that feeds helping keep my mental and physical and spiritual side on an even keel, because there can be a lot of discouragement in building your own business and in voiceover. A lot of rejection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And, so it's funny because I called Alden a couple weeks ago, and he was like, hey, jump on a call real quick. And he was out playing disc golf. So he jumped on FaceTime and he sat on a bench, and it was pretty nice just talking to him. And he was like out in the open, and it felt good for me. It was almost like I was there. And then Alden was like, Jake plays disc golf also.
And your neighbors.
And I was like, what? And like, we're right by each other. So then I'm like that kid that's like, oh, let me show you what I got. So I like ran out to the garage, dusted off my disc golf bag.
Oh, that's right. You did.
And I brought it over and I was like,
that.
I got this one. And you're like, oh, that's a good brand. And I was like, I got this one. He's like, yep, that's a good one. I was like, I got this
hit
one.
Me
He's
up.
like, I don't
we
know
will
that
go
one.
Disc golfing.
I know. But that's the thing. Like, I don't know how to disc golf. That was just given to me, like the spare leftover old discs, because my friends are like big disc golfers. And
you got a park
like
next to you or anything like that?
Yeah, TCC.
Okay, then hit me up and we will
park.
go, and we'll just cover some basics of throwing and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm down.
There you go.
I'm down.
There you go.
Back to the
You want to
podcast.
learn how to shovel horse turds? Come to my house. It's really easy.
Well, if you ever want to go off-roading in a Jeep, that's me. We'll go.
There you go.
Or shoot guns or something.
You and I need to go fishing though too, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We definitely need to go fishing.
I love fishing.
Well, that's one thing I've never, and being a Southern boy, everybody's like, really?
And you have a pond
fish,
too,
right? And I'm like, no. Now I target shoot. I like to target shoot, but I've never been. I used to rabbit hunt when I was a kid and do a little bird hunting, but it was one of those things. My dad didn't do it a ton. I didn't have relatives that did it a ton, so I didn't get into it. And I was always too busy playing baseball and this, that, and the other.
Right.
And then as I got older and got into music, I was too busy playing music, and I didn't want to do all that other stuff. It's still, I'm not totally anti-fishing and hunting at all. I love it, but it's just something I didn't get into and didn't get a lot of knowledge of. Had I grown up with it, I probably would have done it.
I like fishing because it's that time. Like usually you're out early in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm. Or right before dusk.
Yeah, or right
sunset.
before dusk. Yeah, and it's just that time where it's super quiet, and you can just honestly, for me, when I go fishing, if I don't catch something, I'm not like, man, I got skunked and this is stupid. I just like casting and trolling and and if I don't catch anything, it's like, I'm okay because I'm out in nature and it's so quiet and the water's nice.
Awesome.
And it's just like that little quiet time that you get. Yeah. And if you catch a fish, that's just a bonus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I have friends that go
that way horseback riding.
Yeah.
That's what I love about horseback riding. Get off, and especially during the week, we'll go somewhere and pull in. There'll be maybe one other truck and trailer there because nobody can go during the week. They're all piling in there on the weekend. So we go during the week and get off in the woods, quiet. It's great. And we used to do that on a Harley, but I tell you, traffic and drivers and all have gotten so scary lately. People don't really watch the bikes like they used to. And we had a couple near misses and just decided maybe we need to stop doing this.
Yeah.
But I would love to get back to riding the bike. I mean, that's a thing too. Just two of you on the bike out in the country on a little highway somewhere. And it's, man, you can just forget the world when you're doing that. Just looking around in nature. It's great.
I think that's why I like driving my Jeep so much.
Probably
doors and top off. It kind of feels like a bike. You just
different.
You smell the air.
Wind in your hair.
Yeah. Wind in my hairs that I have left.
And when you get back in the studio, your auditions sound different.
Yeah.
They just sound cool.
What's up, man?
They sound different.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned at the top of the thing, you're talking about coaches and multiple coaches and one coach or whatever. What's your approach on your technique right now, Charles?
Man, I have a really good story about that. There's people that are like, man, you shouldn't hop around with different coaches because you're never really going to cling on to one thing or not. And some people are like, you should jump around because you're going to learn more and this and that. So I think coaches, number one, need to be selected for a specific reason, right? Like, why are you hiring this coach, right? Number one, have you vetted them? What did you hear about them? What's their specialty? What are they good at? And then that's why I'm going with that coach, right? Like I went with Brad Highland because I wanted to get more shortlists and I wanted to win auditions on pay-to-play platforms. That's pretty specific, right? And I coached with him and that's what I'm doing. Like it's working. And not that, I mean, Brad has a plethora of knowledge and a lot of other stuff, but specifically that's what I went to Brad for my need at that time. Right. And so I've been doing a lot of other little workshops, paid workshops. I did one with Portia Scott for character animation. I learned a ton of stuff in there. She's a great director and coach, especially live, and just makes you think about different things, which I've used this week in non-animation character stuff. Right. And so there was a session that I did with Tim Freelander, and he was talking about your diaphragmatic voice, right? And you've heard here and there, okay, sometimes you're going to be talking from here, you're going to be talking from your chest, you're going to be talking from your diaphragm, right? And I've heard that from a lot of different coaches. And just the way he explained things really connected with me. And the way he described it was, and he was actually coaching somebody else that had done a read in that workshop. And he's like, so to breathe, to, speak from your diaphragm, to use the air that's, use your diaphragm to push that air instead of like trying to squeak it out through your chest and squeeze, he's like, now I want you to breathe in really slow through your nose, he was telling her. But I do not want your chest or your shoulders to move. And I want you to just breathe in through your nose and fill up your tummy like it's a basketball. Right. And so, he's coaching her and I'm doing it as, everybody else probably was too. And I was like, didn't move my shoulders, didn't move everything. But now I have all this air that's, pushing out my belly. And he's like, now when you talk, use that air to, basically deflate that basketball and let it push the air out. And the crazy part was I did it and I was able to consistently hit this sound that I make, that I try to make when I speak, especially at the ends of words, that makes my voice do this little thing that I like. And I was like, they were coaching in the little windows, right? Because it was a online session. You could see me in the back, like I'm on mute and I'm in the little square, and I'm probably like, what, like this is like a breakthrough for me. Like I couldn't consistently get that sound that I wanted, but because I now knew how to breathe with my diaphragm and speak and use that air, I could consistently do it. And the thing is, I've heard it from other people. I've heard it from other coaches. I've heard it from other seminars and sessions and classes, but nobody really ever described that particular thing the way he did. And it connected with me and I understood it. And that's why I think it's valuable to have different coaches, because it's kind of like, well, your dad told you to do this, your mom told you to do this, your, grandpa told you to do this, but you never did it, but your friend told you how to do it. And you was like, well, yeah, I know how to do it now. It's like, well, you were told 4 other ways, by 4 other people. And I think
good point.
Yeah. And I think that's where it comes in, because that particular thing connected with me and I learned something, even though I've heard it since I've started,
That ties into something Jake and I talked about authenticity. There's a ton of people teaching authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been to several different coaches for that, but only one, as you said, made me realize how to find it.
Mm-hmm.
One helped me immensely as far as trying to take out the false whatever, but it took another one that said, here's how you get to there. Here's how you back up and get there. And it took that, because the backing up part was the part no one had explained to me. You've got to go way behind when this happened, and you've got to build up to when this script happens. And it made sense to me then, because, and then when they started talking about point of views, would you read a medical thing or something about cancer, about a hospital, a lot of times you don't know the perspective. It doesn't tell you. Sometimes it will tell you in the audition that you are a family member or you are this or that, but sometimes it doesn't. Then you have to make that choice. Am I the director of the hospital? Am I a doctor? Am I a family member? Or am I the person who survived cancer? And you've got to pick that point of view. And then it becomes very authentic, because it's not only, I'm just a guy talking to his friend about it. No. How specific is it going to get? And certain coaches get you there. I have a belief that if you go to, let's say you've gone to 6 coaches, you're going to take one piece of all 6 and build your own method to get you where you need to go. And that's why I like having worked with different people, because I'll pull something different. Like you said, this one could teach me that, but I didn't get it. This one taught me that and I got it.
And you might have got something else, that first one taught, that second one wouldn't have been able to get across to you clearly or in a way that it clicked with you.
And I still have holes to fill. I still have things that I want to learn or understand better, but that'll come later, as I work with other people, because I haven't been able to pull that from where people I've worked with so far.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It'll come. And I think that takes several years to build your method and your thing of what you're doing. And that's what makes a good coach down the road. You know, that's why those people can coach. They have been coached by very good people and developed their own way. And now they're sharing that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it works, you know, some of it works for you. Some of it works better for this person or that person. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, you know, it's as diverse as what we talked about when we started the podcast. It's as diverse as it is the way people run their business.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different.
Yep.
Takes all kinds, all things.
Yep. I would agree.
Oh, yeah.
We've done it, guys. We've almost pushed 50 minutes.
Yikes.
It doesn't
Let's
take
hold on
much.
for 9 seconds, and then we will be at
Goes
50
by
minutes.
fast with Charles, doesn't it?
Doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. Always goes fast when you're having a good time talking about things you know nothing about.
All right.
Yeah.
Wait, y'all
Yeah,
were
but-
having a good time? No, I'm
But
just kidding.
Jake, you and I, we need to go disc golf.
Yeah, dude, hit me. Like I said, like if you got an open park or something next to you, then like let's meet up and we can go over the basics of throwing the disc, because it's not like throwing a frisbee. And plus, I mean, I can look at your setup, you know, as far as what you got and whatnot, and you really don't need much to get started.
I have enough
But
to
yeah,
get
let's
started,
look
right,
at that.
Alden?
What's that?
Yeah, you
Alden,
got it.
yeah, Alden's all my stuff. I have enough to get started.
You need a putter and you need a fairway driver. That's it.
I got like 6 or 7 discs in that little
That's
bag.
perfect, man. I probably use only I have probably on me, like as far as when I go out, I probably have like 23 discs on me, and I probably only use about 6 or 7 of them. You know what I mean?
That sounds like me when I go fishing. I'm like, do I really need all 12 rods? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you're fishing,
And then you
dealer,
fish
they're
with
gonna
one
be
main
hitting
one, and then
that
you leave
day,
like this
right?
bobber sitting over there by itself.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were younger? They had the Popeil's Pocket Fisherman. You remember that thing? You could put it in your glove box.
Oh, and you can
And the little arm just folded up straight.
Oh,
And it'd show the guy, you know, casting and fishing and catching
My
something.
uncle had
with it.
one of
My
those.
brother had one of those things, and it was the biggest piece of junk.
I saw.
I used to have a
on,
telescopic rod, and you could just and you
I've
just
seen
put it in my
those.
backpack and
Yeah.
along with everything else, and you just roll with that. But I mean, like I've caught whoppers on that thing, and I'm not
Yeah.
talking about the candy.
I think it was
Oh,
the day
this
on
thing
my
was maybe
Instagram
a foot
feed.
long.
Yeah,
Dang.
on my Instagram feed, this guy had it was a reel, and he had his casting was a
slingshot?
like a slingshot.
I've seen that. I've seen that on TikTok. I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Or the dudes that fish with drones.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I get into weird little tunnels on YouTube.
It is so easy to get caught up on random thing. I've gotten caught up on fishing stuff, disc golf stuff, poker stuff, gambling stuff, just on YouTube alone. And like next thing you know, it's like I've been looking at stuff for 2 hours. Like,
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
One of my few purchases from an infomercial was fishing tackle.
Really? Was it the flying? Was it the flying? No, the banjo.
No.
What was that? There was like a guy, a Japanese guy, and he was talking about the banjo minnow flying lure. And I remember watching that thing so intently. I'm like, I have to get these.
It wasn't
These
that. It
things.
wasn't that. It was something. It was back in the 90s.
Okay, last really quick fishing story before we go. But I remember the very first fishing rod I ever had when I was a kid was a Snoopy fishing rod from Ace Hardware in Chillicothe, Illinois, right? Behind my grandma's house is the Illinois River. There's a big grain silo where barges would come up, and there was this like rocky sandbar. So I don't know how to fish. I think I'm awesome because I have this Snoopy fishing rod, right?
well, you are.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a worm on there. I don't know how to cast. And I literally throw the entire thing out of my hand into the water the very first cast. I'm crying. I'm like 6, right? I'm crying all the way back to my grandma's house. I lost my fishing rod, right? So it was probably 2 years later. My cousin and I were fishing at that same spot. I snagged on a rock and I was like, oh, shoot. So, you're just pulling and pulling until you're going to snap the line. And I was pulling and pulling, then it gave way. I was like, oh, okay, good. I got unsnagged. I pulled up. I swear, strike me down in this booth. I pulled up that Snoopy fishing rod that was mine from 2 years before.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What? I was like, this is my fishing rod.
and your luck hasn't changed.
For this to truly be a fish story, that Snoopy rod had a fish on it.
Yeah. It had a fish that
the
same fish that I caught 2 years ago.
Yeah. It had just survived on there and it
lived its life at the end of that Snoopy fishing.
Great.
You know what? This actually is a nice little segue to end things real quick. As I mentioned in the last episode, guys, we kind of want to do an Ask Me Anything, and you can ask questions that lead to stories like that. To us, and you can even include Charles. If you include Charles in this, we'll have him back on the podcast too. You can ask questions at anothervopodcast@gmail.com. If we get enough, like I said, my goal is like 5 to 10 questions. If we can get some of those, we will make an episode dedicated to these questions. And they don't have to be voiceover related. They could be, tell us a crazy fishing story, Charles, and then he'll tell you. But anyway, I mean, that's what you could do.
Don't forget, coming up.
What's that?
Coming up soon, J. Michael Collins, Brad Highland, Tom Antonellis.
Oh, wow.
All coming up soon.
Nice.
We got some.
Hang with us. That's over the next few months.
Wait,
we're going to spread them out.
And Mike Hathcote?
Mike Hathcote.
Mike Hathcote.
Right.
Almost forgot about Mike.
Nice.
We're actually talking to him this week.
So you'll have two J. Michaels on, huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
Dude, that's crazy,
That's a good
man.
lineup.
We're going to have some good people. Like, guys, tune in before the end of this. Christmas has come early on another VO podcast.
That's right. Interviews all through the holidays.
Nice.
All right. Well, Charles, you let us in. Why don't you send us out?
All right, everybody. This has been another VO podcast. Catch us on the next episode, and we'll see you around. Go record something.
See ya.
Later.
Yeah, boy.
You've been listening to It's Another VO Podcast. I'm Alden Schenneberg.
And I'm Jake the Snake.
No, you are not. Settle down.
All right. I'm Jake Sanders.
And I'm Troy Holden.
Join us weekly as we spill the beans about our challenges being full-time struggling voice actors.
Yeah, and by the way, my girlfriend says you two better get it together, because she doesn't want me carrying you two on this podcast.
Saith the voiceover rookie himself. But be sure and join us on the next episode, because I guarantee it, Jake will do something worth hearing.
And what do you mean by that? No, really, what does that mean?
Dude, let it go. It's all right. It's all right.
Hey, where are you guys going? Hey, don't you kill the feed. Don't you dare kill the feed. Hey, where are you going, Alden? Troy, what are you... Come back!